So I thought today would be the best day to go on and do a video on the 3 Uni albums I have. Uni was a Korean pop singer, active from 2003 to 2007. She sadly died in 2007. And she's one of my favorite music artists of all time. And getting a hold of all 3 albums is actually a rare thing. The first and third aren't too hard to get a hold of, but the second album is quite rare. And we'll get into that as we discuss them. But like I said, I thought today would be a good day to go on and finally show them off. Let's begin. First off, we have our 2003 release, Uni Code, or Volume 1. It's packaged in this more special packaging, I guess you'd say. That's common with a lot of first albums and sort of special releases. Otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward CD otherwise. This is the actual jewel case. Open on up, you got the CD. You have the liner notes, which are pretty straightforward and done in this fold-out fashion. I mean, nothing too special, but it does contain the lyrics. If you know Korean, it does have all this artwork to go with it, so it's something. Inside of the cardboard sleeve, though, you get this nice little book, which is, again, more art, more just promotional material, basically, but it's just some really nice photos of her and some well-designed sort of just, I guess, stylistic depiction of the album's track list. It's hard to describe, and I have such a weird way of describing things anyway, it just probably makes it more confusing. But I mean, look at that. There's something nice about that, something you have to like, and then contrasted with the cold, aesthetic of that picture, the fields and the like. It's just something different. But this album, it's definitely a good album, I'd say. It's more along the lines of a mixture of typical Korean pop, typical dance tracks, mixed with some more, I don't know, sad and more emotional tunes. So let's look at the track list. Like Disco Queen is literally more of a disco track. Go Miami Mix is more of a dance pop track. Your Desire has more of a international influence, an almost Indian inspired sound. Trick 1 and Trick 2 are very Spanish, Latin American styled. O-Punch is actually a cover of a Sweetbox song, Don't Push Me, which is really a popular song in East Asia, or was at the time. Other tracks I do is a really sort of sad sounding, it's really hard to describe. I'll leave links to some of her songs somewhere in the video or down in the description. But the album has a really unique sound to it, at least for me. Definitely diverse, and again, I enjoy it. I think it's debatably the best of the 3, because this is the most unique sounding of them. The other 2 follow a more standardized sound, which just comes with the change that the recording industry, or the people she worked with, wanted her to go through. She went from more of a I dance, I sing, to let's run a really, really sexy image, which, considering from what I've read and what has been reported as translated from TV shows, she has a more reserved nature about her. The over-sexual image, she kind of didn't like it, but went along with it, I guess, for the sake of art. I don't know. Moving on to Volume 2, this is where things got a little iffy. The album's also called Call Call Call, based off the main promotional song, Call Call Call. This one is where she went with a way more, or they went with a way more sexy image, and a lot of the songs are more clubbish, very hip-hop inspired, such as Call Call Call. A lot more rap going on than the first album, a lot more guest rappers. Find it interesting here that there is a typo. Instead of Don't Cry Again, it's Don't Cry Again, and that's actually one of the best songs on the album, as well as Invitation, I believe, is a translation of that. But it's a good album. It has its dry spots, it kind of plays on, but when it hits its high notes, it's really, really good. This is the album that is extremely rare, so many fans will literally this will be their first time seeing the insides of the album, what the CD looks like, what everything does. That's what it looks like underneath. Weird pyramid theme to it. Let's talk for a minute about me getting this. This CD actually has some odd damage to it. You can kind of see right in here how it's just thinned out for some reason. And up here you can just barely see light coming through in this area. little bits of damage, but that doesn't affect the data layer, so the CD plays fine. That might be why I got it cheaper, because the CD's normally $200 to $300. I got it way cheaper, so lucky me, I guess. Looking at the actual book, though, this part's reflective. I got the authenticity certificate, which is common on Korean albums. You'll notice immediately a more sexualized video image style going on. What am I trying to say? I don't even know. But again, the lyrics listed out because, you know, that's a big thing. But if we hit, I'm trying to find it right in here. You can barely make it out in the song because her English has kind of a thick accent to it. But I'm naughty girl, I'm dirty girl. They really went with the over-sexual nature in this one, which it doesn't come through quite right with her. I mean, she's obviously showing off more in the publicity photos and the like. These are the more famous photos of her. Most of the ones you'll see when you do a search on her will be publicity photos from these shoots. But I mean, she's still, something about her reserved nature kind of showed off. I guess that's the best way I can phrase it. Oh no, it's hard talking about her because I ironically like her so much that I do. It's kind of hard to discuss this stuff without getting emotional on the fact that she's gone. Like I said, musically, the album has its slow points, but perks up. It's something you play in the background, and then certain tracks you'll play dominantly. Call 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 is a good, let's just play this to be loud. Invitation is good. Don't Cry Again is good to really listen to, but then other tracks are more, you know, have them in the background and just relax. Is it worth the price? Only for a big fan, but it's a good album. Lastly, we have Volume 3, third album. You can tell I've listened to this one a lot as well. This one is an odd one. It was actually never supposed to be released. Uni killed herself on January 21st, 2007, and that was just before this album was slated to be released. And the story goes, the record company was like, no, we're pulling it, but a combination of her family and fan outreach was like, no, we want the album, you know, please release it. And they decided to go on and do it. So I think it was January 28th it was released. It was actually released earlier than it was originally planned to be. So they had the albums printed and ready to go, and they just were gonna scrap it all. So I am glad it got released. It's definitely different. The darkness, the art style is just completely different from the other albums. Track list is... The songs are much more sad. There's a lot more of a return to the sort of dance pop style she was going for in the first album, but it's also got some really sad tracks, especially Habit in both acoustic and alternate versions. It's an extremely sad song, especially when you look at the lyrics. It's some of the tracks like Runaway, Follow Me, they have a style similar to the second album, whereas U-Turn is pretty much more of a rock song, if anything. It sounds like it belongs on the first album. Honey and Sorrow Fantasy, those two also have more of an electro synth or a funk sound to them and sound like something more from the first album, but with the style changes of the second album, if that makes sense. And the CD's falling out of the case. Gotta watch that. Like I said, I have a sealed copy of this, and there are more out there, so if I need to buy a replacement or want to, I can, but it's one of those things. But the whole book is also just completely different, a much darker look about it, and it's kind of odd looking at her, because the picture's actually kind of, I don't know if it was the art direction they were going with in the photos or what, but there's a more sad style to it. It may be hindsight, I don't know for sure, but something about him is definitely different on this album. It's one I don't listen to as often as you would think, because again, this like Habit is a really sad song. The album makes me think about the fact that she's gone, and it's a little bit of a bummer. I can enjoy the album. I will listen to it for fun sometimes, but it's rarer than other albums. Now, there was a fourth Uni album released in Japan. It's basically a combination of the first two albums, different tracks taken from both of them with a few alternate mixes. I believe all of those alternate mixes have been posted on YouTube by another user. Again, I'll probably link down below to those. But I do want to try to get a hold of that album, but it's definitely the rarest of her albums. If you think this one's rare, Volume 2, then, what was the name of it? Passion and Pure is the common fan name for it. Uni's Japanese release, and it had a CD single as well for the song One, the first track from the second album. That too is probably extremely rare, and I kind of wonder if I'll ever get a hold of them. But these three albums contain all of her content, excluding the special tracks that were on the Japanese release. These are the three Korean releases, so they're part of her home media attempt, if that's the best way to phrase it, I don't know. They're part of what she tried to do in Korea. Japan was sort of a, let's see how she does there. And publicity photos, she's got completely different hair going on. They did the makeup differently. You can tell the cultural differences between Japan and Korea in the way these albums look versus the way promotional materials from the Japanese 2006 push for Passion and Pure look. That's all I really have to say on these. I'll also leave a link down to my Uni article on Sadara down below, or probably put it right up here. Thanks for watching. Do check out her music. If you're a fan and you find this video, definitely leave a comment down below. No, sadly, none of these are for sale. I know someone will want to buy this from me, and I'm sorry, no. The amount you wanted is as bad as I want it. If you're a fan, leave a comment. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll catch everyone next time. Later.